here, and thank you for being so many this afternoon and from all over the world, because we have guests coming from Australia, the Caribbean, all over Europe, Italy, of course, Lombardy, Piedmont, and other Italian regions, such as the Veneto region. We have been traded a trail, so to say. If I think that the first patent which was filed for a compostable catering box was more than 25 years back, and talking about sustainability, compostability, renewable raw materials was something of more than just an innovation. It was something visionary, but this is part of our DNA, of course. It's a long way, which allowed us to meet an incredible amount of people with whom we shared a lot and got united with us along this trail. Sustainability is a collective movement and requires a collective effort in order to obtain results, because we are all on a planet, a country, or a city. So we're talking about a planet when we're talking about sustainability. And this may sound difficult, but we need a vision, we need to persevere, we need to share our intents, because also the timeline of sustainability is rather long, and it can be measured in tens of years. And the impact of what we're doing today will be seen in 10 or 15 years from now. So we don't have to sit back and wait, but we have to get committed. But these are big challenges because we have a planetary scale, we have a timeline. So in terms of size, we have a planet, and in terms of time, we have tens of years. Well, that's why 25 years ago we started introducing sustainability, and we want to have here some stories, some excellent outcomes, and people who together made change happen. We're proud to have been playing a role of avant-garde, but which we have also in this city, in Milan, in Lombardy, and in Italy in terms of circularity. We are on the forefront of the integrated waste cycle and transforming waste into resources through, of course, mass catering in terms of using proximity agriculture and farming, replacing chemicals with products coming from bio waste, the so-called short A to Z process. We are on the avant-garde, and we're proud and to be able to testify about these excellent results that we have achieved. And also, we're very proud to have played our role. And thanks to the inspiration from some colleagues from Northern Europe who have understood that also the forest stock is part of farming on a longer scale, but it's a resource which is extraordinary in terms of renewability and captures CO2 while growing and stocks carbon. And this allows an extremely virtuous circuit. And we have chosen this process. And today we are going to talk about the good use of resources, because the first way of creating value and sustainability is using the present resources, which are limited, because once again our planet is very big, but it's finite whilst the population is growing. And therefore, this is a trend which is always important, and we don't want this value to decrease. And therefore, why we have to be committed to optimize resources to have the maximum possible circularity of the resources that we are using. In terms of the fight against climate change, we're all actors and we're all on the leading line. No one has to sit back and just wait. Each one has to play his or her own role with awareness and with the ability of choosing day in, day out, so that you can be the change that you wish to see in society and in the world. And together we can influence this change. Today we're all gathering here, people, friends, clients, suppliers who are our friends, communities, some family run companies, which are the essence of the vision in our long-term strategy. So these are all entities looking at a horizon which is not only an economic one, but also entails a society and the environment. In this particular process, we are on the avant-garde. We have shared in, and we were the authors of, and the propellers of this particular trend. Everything comes from this, and therefore thank you for having shared with us our work and having had the intuition on the right choice to be made. And we can therefore say that we're making the difference today. And with the speeches that you're going to be hearing today, you will understand that this can be done. We have instruments, we have tools, we have technologies. You have to believe in it, you have to get committed, and we all have to work together. Thank you very much indeed. Now that I'm getting familiar with the microphone, I will no longer leave it. We are giving the floor to the governor of the region Lombardy, who's opening this conference, with which we want to, I'm sorry, the microphone is off. And we really want to work all together, because if we become a system, we will achieve goals. Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I believe I can say that for me, it is truly a honor to attend this opening ceremony, because I believe that the issue of sustainability is no longer just an issue that for many years has just been a theoretical one, filling books and conferences. Sustainability has become something practical, which we have to tackle with a great deal of determination. Therefore, I'm pleased to say that in a company that made sustainability its own flag, was able to become sustainable, both in the production phase as well as in the phase of delivering the product. In this company, they use sustainable energy, sustainable systems, and you obtain a sustainable product. So I would say that we have indeed almost achieved the full circularity phase. And I was saying that this is an example that it is to be followed, and we are going to be able to make it more widespread. Recently, last summer, I visited a farming company. They're breeding pigs, and that particular company has become fully sustainable and fully circular. All the products of that particular company, starting from the waste, animal waste in particular, are being used to produce biogas, biofuel, and digested natural fertilizers. Therefore, everything which is inside the company can be used. Certainly this is difficult and this is a long way. The region Lombardy, while we were voting for our regional development plan, we wanted to put a word more, regional sustainable development plan, because we want to have a general effort and we want this effort to be crystal clear vis-à-vis all our citizens. The region Lombardy and in the region Padania and Veneto, we are faced with greater difficulty if compared to others, because our geomorphological situation is such as that since 3/4 of our territory is covered by mountains that are actually a barrier to winds, we have substances that cannot be blown away. But the region Lombardy, together with other regions, if we take into consideration the standards that have been set forth, we are fully compliant. We are below 40% vis-à-vis the threshold established in Europe. But of course, in the absence of air circulation, sometimes you have problems with the atmosphere, and therefore the values may exceed the threshold by law. This is just to say that our situation is more difficult vis-à-vis those regions having regular winds that can clear up the atmosphere. But we are certainly getting more and more committed so that this particular result may be achieved. But as writer Manzoni used to say, we always have to make stride forward. You indeed started 25 years ago, actually. So all the other companies, all the other breeding centers and also heating in our households would be indeed sustainable and will not actually have pollutants in the water or in the air. And I close by saying that I believe that these are the examples to use that one can get to the level of sustainability which does not only entail the environment but also the social, economic and environmental aspects. It is only when these three functions are involved sustainability is truly useful to our territory, to our people and to the world in more general terms. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for having offered me the opportunity of visiting this wonderful company. I fully believe that examples such as yours can be used in order to push also other companies to do the same, both in the public and private sectors, so that within the time frame needed, we'll be able to make it happen and to have circularity as well as sustainability become a reality. So all the best to you. This is my only wish, because for the rest you were the ones that have already done everything. So my congratulations and thank you once more. So to indeed not waste resources, we shall alternate on the chairs. So now I give the floor to Professor Massimo Follador, Professor in Business Ethics and Sustainable Development at l'IUC, actor and engine for ethical change and a promoter of a social stand within companies through his own entrepreneurial endeavors. Massimo, to you the floor. Well, I'm honored to be here, and I feel at home, I have to say. I know I am among many entrepreneurs, and Michelangelo introduced me as a professor, but besides teaching, I write books, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I was a manager in Milano in the 80s and 90s, and so I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm pleased to be here with all of you. I feel at home for another reason. One, because I am fortunate enough to have befriended Maria Teresa Dell'Angelo, and therefore I'm very grateful to her and our friendship. And the other one is because Michelangelo asked me to talk about a topic which I'm trying to work on, and I've been trying to work on over the past 20 years as well. This is the new entrepreneurial patterns, models, sustainability, etc. I have a few notes of things I want to tell you because I don't want to go on for another 20 years talking about the past 20 years. So I shall try to summarize as much as possible. Now, I'd like to start from Michelangelo and Maria Teresa, the people I met, Filippo, Luca, and all the others. What does being an entrepreneur mean? If I think about myself when I used to climb mountains, it meant, do something better and committing. But are we really entrepreneurs, or we're just business people? That is, we're really squeezed. Our companies have an entrepreneurial vision with a number of attempts, yes or no? Or are we squeezed into just the everyday endeavor? Because this topic of an enterprise which is back to the center, as Attilio, the governor, was saying before, the enterprise becomes the center of the sustainability movement. But we also have to bear in mind that enterprises have changed. So of course, we're all more than willing to do things well, and also to have fun. I dare say there are a couple of elements to be taken into consideration. First, we're forced to be entrepreneurial because of the situation, because of environmental issues we've seen recently. Think about what happened over the past few years, the problems of energy, of raw materials. We need to like the environment. Enterprises have to embrace the environment, but the issue is that the context is forcing us to have a better vision, a multi-dimensionality. But over the past few years, also society is telling us that we need to be different entrepreneurs. We're talking about Emission. You think about young people in and out, demographic problems, this society which changes and asks us to have a different approach with our people, with clients, etc. We have suppliers, we have the local community, we have politicians we have to deal with. But it's not just the context. There are a couple of other things that, in my opinion, are fundamentals. One is what for? Because, okay, we're within this context, but if our purpose is be able, with a big strain, to make ends meet, well, then the model is exactly the one that I'm going to mention in a few minutes. If we have to stick to a certain economic value, but having to come to terms with the environment and society, well, then the purpose changes and is connected to the topic of sustainability. Sustainability, for the people who know what sustainability with a capital S is, may be defined as our ability to find a balanced economic situation through a balance with the relationship with society and the environment. environment. That is, in other words, creating economic value. Maria Teresa, Michelangelo have been doing that for many years, but through a balance in the relationship with our environment and whatever goes with it, and also with all the people who work within the framework of an enterprise. And therefore, what Michelangelo asked me to do is very interesting. I'm always going for Italy, and those who know me very well under this respect. But we come from a couple of models, one which we have inherited by the Anglo-Saxon world, which really after the Industrial Revolution won the classical economic model. At a certain moment you have the what you call the classic economy, and profit only becomes central at a time when there were many people and many issues. And this model in the 70s and 80s in America had a further development through the liberalistic school, which was just not profit but maximizing result. And this was the change. If I maximize the right-hand side, I minimize the left-hand side. Of course, I can get money back from the environment, from my suppliers, from my client, and willy-nilly we have produced the current situation. Our environment and what is happening is also the fact that we actually wanted everything for ourselves and did not care enough for the environment. But I believe this is a reality to all of us, and a Nobel Prize winner says we have to take into consideration that what has been done so far will not be enough if we want to have an economic approach to the current themes. We have to find a third way. What's funny is that the third way is already there. There's nothing to be invented. I met Maria Teresa some 20 years ago because I came across by chance a very weird world. Mirassole, Chiaravalle, Vimodrone, all big centers at that time for Italy and for Europe. I was a manager in Milano, and I wondered, but things must change. We cannot go on working like this. And I came across them by chance, and I realized that, think about the abbeys, the hospitals, the Parmesan cheese, wine, and countless products. So I studied this world, and I realized that there was a different approach. The environment was at the center. The community would put at the center people, etc. And I wrote a couple of books in which I tried to describe what I saw, the results. I was a marketing manager, and I saw the results. I tried to indeed work on this, dig into this, and I realized after many years that these people were sustainable before sustainability came to become a trend. Maybe some of you have read all this, or some have written about it. At a certain point in time, you have Antonio Genovese, Nabi. We are in 1750 in Salerno, who creates the first school of economics, which is the outcome of the intelligence of this abbé, and it's being called civil economy. And it is, in other words, the same thing that Michelangelo and the governor said to us, that is, economy has to be serving society. It's not a predator. And what's funny is that the word economy comes from Greek, means correct management of resources. And this would allow us to come to the point. So economics means a correct management of a household, and then we are the predator of this household. I believe that the work by Maria Teresa and all the people who are with them, that is this idea of enterprise with personal values, etc., strategies, etc. Values are good, but we need another economic model which is already there. And eventually, if you think this way of working here in Italy or in Lombardy, we had fabulous mountains, rivers and lakes, and we eventually started building our cities. We started with economics very early, but without being critical about it, probably we have to go back to rediscover the roots of economics and certainly, of course, bring them into our current situation. And I close by saying that we have Mrs. Anna Vanoni together with us, who has been working with me. Italy once more amazes people because besides being on the avant-garde in terms of circularity, it is also on the avant-garde when it comes to these new legal entities. And eventually we say we take into consideration of whatever has been done over the centuries, but we also have to take into consideration the problems. And let's try to build back a new entity, a new model of enterprise, which in their bylaws may take into consideration purposes and benefits. That is, what's important to do vis-à-vis the environment and the society for the good of the company, because this means talk to one for the other to understand, talk to the environment so that your data may be steadier, and being here to see this experience, this reality, knowing that there is indeed this benefit. This means that not only this is doable from the economic standpoint, we had a lot of fun, I must admit, to work on this, and I wish to you all, as well as to myself, the fact that working is difficult, it's hard, but it's also beautiful when you work on those issues. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Massimo. Your vision is always very enlightening. And now I give the floor to Mr. Antonio Brunori, Secretary General of PEFC Italia, the Certified Wood Stock Association. To you the floor. Well, thank you very much. Earlier on, we were saying, what is a company? What is an enterprise? Usually, in 420 seconds, talking about all this is really incredible because it usually takes hours when I run my course at a university. So I shall try in this very little time to give you at least 3 ideas. The idea of bioeconomy, traceability, and indeed also coherence or consistency. Why? Because in this company we use the most natural material ever, because cellulose comes from the trees, and the trees are growing naturally without need for irrigation, pesticides, fertilizers, etc. So when we use a material which comes from a forest, indeed we create a situation whereby carbon dioxide in the air is being captured by the plants and will be returned into the air, therefore completely different from other materials which are consuming energy and are polluting. We know that man has just created one thing, which is plastic, and indeed we're overwhelmed with it. bioeconomy is to be carried out. And this means that an entrepreneur, if he or she wants to work for the good of the environment, has to pollute very little and have a situation whereby the business may be regenerated. And therefore, as a consequence, is with the practical actions that you create the opportunity of having bioeconomy. I work for an enterprise in Italy, which is one of the very few, because in Italy, incidentally, only 5% of all the companies working in the wood and paper industries has a certification on sustainability, and I work for one of them. This leads me to the second theme, traceability. Maybe you're not aware of the fact that at worldwide level, the second item in terms of money earned by crime after drugs is trading of wood and paper. That is, wood cutting all over the world on an illegal basis has more than $100 billion profit every year. So it's fundamental to guarantee traceability when it comes to wood stock and paper stock. It is indispensable because it is only if a product comes from forests that are being managed with sustainability. Whenever you cut a tree, you replant a tree. All the workers are safe. There is training, and you protect fauna and the flora. And that's traceability, and that's the good for the environment. And this leads me to the third items, that is consistency. Those who have a traceability certificate, such as in this company, brings over to the final user consistency between corporate values and societal values and the environmental values. Because it's pointless to have vegan food, organic food, if then it all comes from sources that are not sustainable. So this consistency is indispensable. Therefore, we talk about sustainability not only from an economic or environmental standpoint, but also from a social standpoint. Therefore, in order to close my speech, it is indispensable to understand that in Europe, forests are being managed in such a good way that you cut less than 50% of what grows, and therefore it's a wealth that remains, and therefore traceability of raw materials in this company comes from Europe, when in general the others have cellulose and all other raw materials coming from the south of the world with impact on CO2 and freight forwarding. Well, that's why I have accepted the invitation to come and work here and talk here, because there is consistency, traceability, bioeconomy, and also environmental protection. Because whenever you serve a cellulose plate or container with a certification, is just like planting a seed to have new trees grow. Thank you very much for your attention. Well, thank you very much indeed. There's a great deal of passion by everyone, and this is really our distinguishing factor here. Be really passionate about what we do. That's why I invite Mr. Diego Capocci, who's in charge of operation of Milano Ristorazione. They manage schooling food, school catering, etc. here in Milano, which is part of this panel. Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you all, and thank you for the invitation. The catering is important. And Milano Ristorazione was first founded in the year 2000 with a mission, which was to carry out catering services on a healthy basis with a good approach and a fair one indeed. And as our governor of the region, Lombardy, said earlier on, we have added on another word, which is sustainability. In a company such as the one I work for, we serve 83,000 meals every day. We have more than 100 production sites. We reach 414 schools. And we have approximately 200 creches that are being served. Therefore, user basing has a very important impact and visibility. Milano Ristorazione, as I said, was first founded in the year 2000, and in the year 2000 there has been a turning point. Connected also to what was the regulations and the rules, because cuisine has not changed, but what changed was the ways certain actions are being carried out, procedures, guidelines, certifications, etc. For us are all important certifications, therefore traceability, etc. Certifications do help in terms of processing, but there has to be the willingness of changing and take sustainability as a staple concept. Raw materials which we used to buy some 20 years ago were probably not that different from today, but what changed is that a choice has been made. Meanwhile, a political choice, a mission, a different mission has been chosen. Sustainability is also the mission of each single company. Milano Ristorazione is also a public company because it's fully owned by the municipality of Milan. The raw materials changed because now we have organic raw materials, but only 50% of what we purchase. But they are within Lombardy, so our choice in terms of purchases is a domestic product, a zero-mile product, an organic product, therefore a short A to Z processing line. So all those raw materials that have to do with a qualified idea of sustainability. But our choice did not just entail the raw materials, but also logistics. We have approximately 120 trucks within the Milan area delivering food, and we have made a choice that is to have optimization in terms of mileage and the use of increasingly more sustainable trucks. Today, we are in a position of monitoring emissions of each single vehicle that we use. Besides this, we have other areas. We purchase detergents, for instance, but also before the previous speaker was talking about plastic, which invaded our life. Since 2016, we chose not to use plastic plates for our catering services, but we have chosen to use compostable and biodegradable plates, and this well before the law that forced to reduce and to get rid of plastic. And this allowed us to have 720,000 kilos less of plastic every year. But sustainability does not just mean raw materials. That's why we found BIOPAP as an avant-garde company in 2015. We decided to include in our menu lasagna, which you're all familiar with. So the only company that was able to give us a biodegradable, compostable box which could be put into a oven and could be indeed considered as being organic waste proves that at that time BIOPAP was already an avant-garde company. And so we followed the trend. We followed this trail, which continues also in terms of changing our menu cards, which means changing your raw materials. Choose those raw materials that are polluting less. Between 2016 and 2021, raw materials which we purchased got to a 42% reduction of emissions. This is just to tell you how we continue our avenue day in and day out. And we also talked about circular economy. We're also trying to do something more within a production site. Whatever is the slurry, etc., can be recycled. They're being taken to a site which is rather close to here at Abbiate Grasso, a few miles from here, to produce biogas. Oil being used from the kitchen is being used for the production of biofuels or biolubricants. So sustainability is really pervasive at 360 degrees, whatever happens in our business. And eventually, it is also important to talk to people and improve, thanks to the food policy here in Milano, created in 2015, when the International Expo was being organized. We can exchange views with many entities abroad. These people are coming to visit us, to learn in terms of our organizational patterns and how we support services from New York, London, Rosario in Argentina, Copenhagen. Before, we were talking about how good production is in the northern countries, and this is important because you have to have a vision and not just stick to what we do and who we are. Now, I close by saying that, it's true, sustainability entails a society, economy, and the environment. But when it comes to all of this, we shall never forget that in a service such as ours here, what is important is the human capital, and therefore you have to think about the value of our human resources and their development. Thank you very much indeed. Well, thank you, Mr. Diego Capocci. We continue with our panelists. Here we're not just talking about ideas, but we're talking about actions. I give the floor to Mr. Federico D'Andrea, the president of AMSA, the waste management company of the Milan municipality. Thank you. Thank you all. Well, if I were to, in actuality, use my 7 minutes with my heart, I would talk about Mara for 6 minutes and 1 minute. In actuality, I cannot do it, and therefore, I will talk about what AMSA, the waste management company of the Milan municipality, does, and I will quote a few data because we have a few excellent results and they have to be indeed made public. And I believe that when one talks about a point of excellence, numbers are really the thing you have to quote because ideas may sometimes be rather vague. But just a mention to Italy, which we have, so to say, also advertised between quotation marks, and it's worth doing that. In February 2022, there have been a couple of important events. That is, 2 articles of the Italian Constitution were changed, Article 9 and 41, where it is expressly mentioned how important the environment is. Article 9 reads that Republic promoting the development of culture, etc., has to protect the environment, biodiversity and ecosystems, also in the interest of future generations. The law of the state will set forth the rules and regulations to protect animals. And Article 41 that talks about free enterprise says also that by law you have to have checks and controls so that public and private economic actions can be addressed and coordinated for social and environmental purposes. That is, the issue of environment in Italy was being coded by the founders of the Italian Republic, that is, those who drafted our constitution. And this has to be pointed out because whatever has to be done for the purpose of improving the environment, which is an ethical and moral duty, it is also a legal duty of extraordinary value. So much so, we found a trace of it in our constitutional charter. And as all managers do, I deal with a number of different situations. But I am one of the many, of course, and I have, of course, a lot of different endeavors, but I'm particularly proud to be here representing the waste management company of the Milan municipality. They deal with waste. It is a rather humble business, if you like, but it is a service which really makes us very proud to serve the community we serve. We're really happy to do so. We have 3,000 people working, 1,400 trucks on the roads day in and day out. We guarantee the service of cleaning under all circumstances, in all weather conditions. During the COVID, there were just ambulances around and our trucks cleaning the city. And this has to be remembered and pointed out because the pride, the people who work for the waste management company of Milan is really paramount. And I want to say it, not because I am the president, because it's also fair to prize those who carry out very humble services. And AMSA truly does it. Here in Milan, we gather 62% of separated waste. We in Europe are the leading city when it comes to recycling waste, followed by München, 60%, Berlin, 48%, Rome, 45%, Madrid, 41.5%, Barcelona, 38%, London, 33.4%, Paris, 20.9%. Milan has more than 62%, starting in 1993 with 7%. So this development over the years was an extraordinary one. And this has to be pointed out, and this has to be remembered, because it is fair enough to say so, and to indeed give honor to more than 3,000 people at AMSA. We serve 1,800,000 people only in the city of Milan. We have 182 square kilometers of surface and 2,255,000 points of collection, 25,000 beans. And why do I quote all these numbers? Because these are important numbers. These are numbers that are indeed focusing on our own business, and they have to all be managed. And managing such a company is not easy, because one has to be able to take into consideration all the various needs. But managing at their best and having such results not only praises the present president of AMSA, but all the citizenship of the city of Milan. And when we talk about sustainability, everyone has pointed it out. sustainability is also economic and social. I've always been wondering, what about this sustainability everyone talks about? The UN Commission on Environment gives a straightforward definition that can be very well understood. Sustainability is what satisfies and meets the present needs without compromising the ability for future generations to meet their own requirements. And that's exactly what we have to have in mind. We have to meet our requirements without compromising the future. So much so, in our constitution, when people talk about protecting future generation, experts in terms of corporate management say that the new category of stakeholders, the future generation, are those who are not here today but will be there in the future, and we have to think about them as well, and not just about ourselves. So how can we do that? How can we protect everyone? We have to integrate more and more what we're doing, and we have to involve all the various facets that we have in Milan. We'll start having ethnical problems with different ethnical groups. AMSA works with these ethnical groups and entertains ongoing relationships with all of them. So all these stakeholders are part of us, also trying to talk to them with their own languages and trying to have them all understand that recycling starts from the awareness and the willingness of differentiating. If people do not help each other from scratch in the homes, in the restaurants, in the bars, in the communities, then our work will be nil. And we are continuously aware of all this. On top of it, I'd like to say that Milan has a big thing about it all. The extraordinary sense of community. We keep on receiving phone calls, messages from citizens who do not accept that their city is a dirty one. And we are trying to do our best by removing whatever we can, usually on average within 24 hours, based upon the numbers that I just mentioned, though. And what does AMSA do more, because we believe it, and I would like to close on this. We believe that we have to train people to protect the environment. Where can we start from? From kids, from schools, from elementary schools, and from all schools in general. And we at AMSA, on a yearly basis, visit as many schools as possible to talk to the students, of course, changing our language, changing our jargon, changing our approach, but we talk to kids all the way up to high schools, and we want to keep on talking to these students, and we have to tell them that dirtying the environment is a big detriment to the community. Not caring for the environment means damaging not only they themselves when they will grow up, but also all the other citizens. And I'm asking you to help us in this effort that we are making, because we have to tell people that they have to be very careful in caring for their homes, for, of course, their households, but if we are able to protect what we protect privately on the public basis, we would live in a world which is even more beautiful and even more healthier and healthier. That is what they do here at BIOPAP through Mara and all the people. For me, is really a source of excellence and great pride. And I believe that all of us are proud to be able to live in Milano and in this magnificent region of Lombardy, and allow me to say that we live in a city which is truly clean, and thanks to the 3,000 men and women who are trying to clean it day in and day out. Help us to keep it as it is and to make it even better, more welcoming, as we make efforts every single day. Thank you very much indeed. Let's continue with our ideal journey, because we have separated waste, especially the organic waste. And now let's see how we can make the most of it with Mr. Marco Ricci, Italian Compost and Biogas Association. He is a senior expert. Good afternoon. First of all, I work for the Italian Compost and Biogas Association. We have circular economy, but I would call it bioeconomy, given the topic of our conference. We change your waste and the organic green waste that we produce in the city into two fundamental products: compost, that is organic fertilizer, and more recently, every single company in Italy started to extract biogas as well. Therefore, it is particularly interesting to talk about all this to you, also because the metropolitan area in Milan, I confirm, is the area which is a worldwide excellency in this phase of recycling, and 62% of recycled waste, as pointed out by AMSA president, we are the lion's share. That is what the Italians do day in and day out. Of course, we have an industrial plant, and we're used to doing things, but part of our DNA in our association is also a corporate vision, because when you have an organic fertilizer on the ground, and if you talk to an agronomist who has to assess environmental changes and impacts, usually you talk in terms of 100-year framework, and therefore we know that agriculture has to be assessed on the long run, and therefore for us it is fundamental to have the quality of product that we give back to the land. Compost is an energy for growing plants, and it is not by chance that our association created a voluntary quality label, and 40% of the compost back to the Italian land has a quality label called CIC, and in 2006 our association did something that for the time was a visionary endeavor, creates a label of compostability, and BIOPAP is in the registrars of the certified company is number 003. So in 2009, BIOPAP was already a pioneer company. So the idea of excellency has to be built over time, and this is an example of excellence that has been built up, because circular economy implicitly requires that the various agents may find altogether a win-win solution for the whole processing line. So we have taken into consideration a catering item which was in plastic and could not be recycled at that time and run the risk of contaminating our compost. Well, a solution was found which was perfectly integrated into the recycling process with organic waste. And the example mentioned by Mr. Capocci of the tray for lasagna is an ideal example, because it is the food that leaves a thin layer, and in this particular case we have a win-win situation. A compostable box and a layer of food. And so this is an excellent idea that was developed over time, which is a successful one. I want to finish with a good wish, because we are at an opening ceremony here. So we met BIOPAP in 2009, so almost 15 years ago, and today it is wonderful teenagers, so to say. You were certified in 2009, so you began in 2008 with us. So in human terms, you are a wonderful teenager, and we wish a fantastic adult future and life. Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Marcorici. We're almost at the end of our set of presentations, and we would like to close our loop, so to say. We talked about the organic waste turned into compost and being used for farming, replacing chemicals, but also bringing about an improvement in terms of the quality of the land. But we also have the chips and production wastes that are not really wasted because they're being recycled in the paper industry, because since BIOPAP uses paper, we're also part of the paper industry, and so our waste within circularity can go back into the paper industry. So we have Mr. Giovanni Scalia, the general manager of SACI, S-A-C-I, paper mill, and PM3. Good evening, everyone, and hello to everyone. I would like to address Mr. Brunori and tell him that you should not freak out. We're not cutting trees. We are 100% producer of recycled paper. We have 65 years of business behind us, and we are specialized in the production of very thin paper, which means 40 grams per square meters to 170. Yet our production uses selected products in order to be able to produce thin paper with a performance which is similar or equal to the paper produced with pure cellulose. This depends on the fact that over the years we have selected a number of suppliers and a number of raw materials or materials which are mixed together in the production process can give you an excellent degree of quality. SACI is famous Europe-wise as a leader in this particular production. Paper being produced may be used for shoppers and containers for bread, and also compostable paper to get wastes. The organic containers that you use at home is almost always produced by us. It is certified and compostable. If you don't believe it, ask this gentleman who's here, who's the manager for certification. We have one site in Verona and one in Padua. In Verona, we have the latest generation clearing machines, and we have also a specific plant for the clearing of plastic coming from paper processing. In some plastic packages there are clusters or thin layers of film or other substances, and we can separate them from paper and use them as recycled plastic as well. We are recycling Tetra Pak. We are one of the 2 companies in Italy. We have been acknowledged domestically. Why is it that we recycle that? Because Italy is a country which is rich in artistic beauty, but very poor in terms of raw materials. So what we did was we got organized and we went to chase those materials that can give a value added to the production of brand new paper, because recycling paper, and I'm not talking about reuse, and here I criticize a little bit the new European set of regulations which has been enacted, but I hope that God may help us, because in my opinion this set of rules are rather banal, but we're not here to criticize today. Anyway, in our Verona plant, I was saying that we're using all those raw materials that are in line with 643 AN rule of 2014. There are 5 chapters identifying the various substances. For instance, we use paper when Comieco, which is an association doc, we used, for instance, paper coming from the municipality of Milan, therefore gathered by ANSA, or paper post-consumption, which is the paper where you dump, coming from the places where you dump your own paper wastes, or pre or post-industrial paper. Post-industrial paper means that when Dr. Anderlini calls me and he says, look, I have wonderful paper and it's cheap, come and get them. Okay. Okay, let's drop it all. But anyway, when Mr. Anderlini calls me and says, come and get our wastes, we use their chips, and so post-industrial, pre-consumption, but post-industrial paper. Many years ago, it was just dumped. Today, with our equipment, with the ongoing investment in innovation, we have specific machinery allowing us to sort out cellulose and therefore paper and plastic. The cellulose has a second life as well as the plastic material. So we wash, dry and chip these products, and then we sell it to companies that produce plastic mixes or granulated plastic. And then of course, the degree of usability varies, but it is anyway recycled plastic that, apart from market prices, should be used in production, because it is true that everyone likes to work with a selected raw material and print on a pure cellulose paper. Yes, but recycling is a duty, especially if we talk about sustainability. That's what Saatchi has been doing over the years. We commit day in, day out in gathering and selecting the various types of paper, and find companies such as BIOPAP giving us an essential contribution. Practically what happens is that in this way we close the loop of recyclability and circular economy. Practically nothing is being wasted. That's what we do at Saatchi paper mill. I should stay for hours, but Mr. Anderlini said, come on, be concise, because you're the last panelist and we have to close our conference. So thank you very much indeed. Okay, the gift of summarizing is an important one. Thank you all to all the panelists for their statements. It's been a natural way of having everyone appreciating all these situations, some of which are excellent, some of which are working very well and allow us to indeed introduce biological and physical circularity to the fullest extent. It is possible to do that by talking to each other, by uniting the various clusters and creating these good cycles. Willingness is the power. Thank you very much indeed for having followed us, and now you are going to visit our site with a guide. Thank you all for being here, because today we would not be here had you not believed in us, and therefore we would like to share this very moment with you, because we have been treading this path together with you, and we thank you most wholeheartedly. Had you not been there to believe that our idea was a good one, that our vision was a good one, had we not had together the willingness to make common efforts for a common purpose, we would not be here today. So thank you very much for having come from afar and from closer. Thank you also to the General Council of Germany, the Vice General Council who is here, and they're honoring us with their presence, given the important relationship we entertain with our friends who are not just clients but are great friends as well from Germany, and we have a very tight connection with them. Unfortunately, the French Consul General was unable to attend because we have also great relationships with France, but unfortunately he was not well and so he could not attend, but we wish him the best. Thank you.